Tonight, we debate 8 animated film dads. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of Debate 8. Tonight, we got a really fun one. It's a different one than we usually do. Normally, we debate movies, but tonight, we are debating characters within a movie. And as you already know, we are going to be doing 8 animated film dads. That's right. Sunday that just passed was Father's Day. So tonight, we are going to celebrate the fathers in those animated films that we love. And we have a ton of great ones that we're going to line up for you tonight. And not only are the panelists that I'm going to bring on in a second going to give our opinions on who is the best dad in your animated films, but it's going to be you voting live here tonight who's going to decide who makes it all the way through the tournament bracket and becomes your favorite animated dad. Speaking of our guests, let's not waste any time. Let's bring them in. First one we're going to bring in, well, first of all, both of these guys are returning guests, and I'm very excited to have them here. They're going to bring such fun energy to the show. First one up is Elliot from the YouTube channel Hakuna MaChatter. Elliot, how are you tonight? How you doing? Good.
Hey, Adam, man, I am doing very good. Very good. It's 2 a.m. here in the UK right now, so had a little nap, and now I'm pumped to go. Wrote my notes down. Let's do this.
Good, awesome. And our second guest coming in, Dempsey from the self-titled YouTube channel, Dempsey Pillot. Dempsey, how are you? Welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much, Adam. It is a pleasure to be back, and I am ready to debate.
He's ready. Good, awesome. Well, let's remind these guys and you at home which animated dads we're going to be debating tonight. Man, we have some tough matchups here tonight. Here is the first one, the number 1 seed Mufasa going up against the number 8 seed Stoick the Vast. The second matchup will be the number 4 seed Marlin going up against the number 5 seed of Goofy. The third matchup, the number 3 seed Jefferson Davis going up against the number 6 seed of Gru. And rounding out the first round, the number 2 seed Mr. Incredible going up against the number 7 seed Dracula. Man, these are going to be some tough matchups. We got the first one. We got Mufasa, the number 1 seed going up, from the Lion King, going up against Stoick the Vast from How to Train Your Dragon. Elliot, I'm going to start with you. I'm going to put 2 minutes on the clock for you. How do you feel about this matchup?
Lovely. So, I mean, we were kind of saying in the preamble before going live that it's going to be hard to topple Mufasa. And I think, there's a reason he's the number 1 seed. So I'm going to wait till later to talk about Mufasa when he comes up maybe against a tougher opponent. I'm going to talk about Stoick and give him some love because I think there's a bit of love that can be afforded to him here. And I love that he is a great metaphor, I think, for accepting your son or daughter for who they are rather than what they are. And I think he kind of is akin to maybe a child coming out to their parent. You want me to be this, you have this idea of me in your head, but actually I'm this. I don't want to be this big, strong Viking warrior. Actually, no, like dragons are they can be our friends, or you can use intelligence and smarts to kind of have them on side and live in harmony with them. And so I think Stoick kind of goes through that journey on the way of learning that actually his son is different to what's come before. His son isn't, the usual Viking that we've had, and that's okay. And that's beautiful. And you know what? Actually, he's going to teach me some things and I'm ready to learn them.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's really much more I can say.
Yeah, definitely. That's a very well said. I'm definitely going to give some love to Stoick today as well. Dempsey, we'll swing it over to you. I'll put 2 minutes on the clock for you. Elliot basically gave the win to Lion King and Mufasa. How are you feeling about this matchup?
All I want to say is it's going to be really hard to bring Mufasa down without feeling a little bit heartless. But we might have to do that later on in the show. But I totally agree with you. I do think that Stoick is a character. When I think of the one thing that I think all these characters have in common, it's the fact that we get to see a lot more of a sensitive side through their kids. Like their kids really open them up to being something that is against like the macho stereotype that's often associated with fatherhood. And I do like this character a lot. Unfortunately, all I can say, I've only seen like the first and half of the second one of the How to Train a Dragon series, but I am familiar of how important the character is in the very first one. So going off of my knowledge of that, and even with that, I still don't think that he compares to the great example, still a great example, but not as strong of an example of a strong father that Mufasa is in The Lion King. I mean, spoiler alert for those who haven't seen The Lion King, the guy literally
I think
died.
it's safe. I think it's safe to say it. If you haven't seen Lion King, what are you doing here, first of all?
but yeah, I think it's just got to go to Mufasa. That's my vote anyway.
All right. So both of you leaning heavy on Mufasa, but it's not up to us. It's up to the people. So let's start this poll. If this is your first time here, what we do is we vote here live in the YouTube chat. You don't have to go anywhere else. If you want to vote for Mufasa, do !vote1 in the chat. There is a space between the word vote and the number. You can see all the regulars who are here doing it in the chat already, so just do it like that. Streamlabs will tell you if your vote counted. That's how you know if you did it correctly. If you want to vote for Stoick the Vast, do !vote8. Yeah, I'm with you guys. I can't go against Mufasa. I mean, look, I know, like you said, Elliot, I'm not going to go too heavy on it because I think it's without a doubt. I mean, maybe not without a doubt. We got a lot of love here for Stoick, but I think at the end of the day, Mufasa is going to win this. Look, both tragic deaths. Okay, it's just funny how it ended up that the first matchup has both dads dying. Both really tug at your heartstrings. I mean, when Stoick died, I mean, that I held back. I held back the tears. I love these movies. I love that franchise, and it was really sad and shocking to see him go, especially because his growth was so big in the movie and a half that he was in. But as for lots of other reasons that I'm sure we're gonna get into, I'm with you guys. I gotta go Mufasa for sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, go ahead, Elliot.
Because it's not, as clear cut as I thought it was going to be. There seems to still be quite a lot of love for Stoick in the votes there, more than I expected. But hey, man.
Yeah, I mean,
I think we spoke quite nicely about him as well. So
yeah, I think so too, and not a runaway. So that it makes me question. It makes me question about the number one seed if it's he's really going to make it all the way. I guess we'll find out. But let's go to the bracket. Mufasa with 71% of the vote. Moving on to the second round. All right, now it's time to get into the second matchup. The number 4 seed Marlin going up against the number 5 seed Goofy Man. Our 4-5s are usually the toughest in the first round. I think this is also a tough one. Dempsey, we're going to start with you. 2 minutes on the clock. How do you feel about the fish versus the dog?
Why do you gotta do me like this? I was secretly hoping that the two of them would make it to the end because these are personally my two favorite dads on this list. Mufasa's number 3, okay, for those of you guys wondering. But the reason why I love these guys, and Goofy especially, is because he's arguably the only character that I could think of that was a single dad. He was there for his son, and he had to play both the mother and father role. And yes, and I'm going to say this a lot tonight, like many of the other fathers on this list, his overprotectiveness does hurt him to a certain extent, but it's through that overprotectiveness that we're able to see how strong his love is for his son. Marlin literally traveled the ocean to find his son, guys. Come on, the whole thing was just how deep his love was, even though his final words that his son said to him before he disappeared was he hated him. Man, this is such a frustrating toss-up. Finding Nemo is like one of my favorite movies of all time. Mm-hmm. But still, I have a really strange soft spot for Goofy just because I can only imagine what his portrayal or what he meant when his character and his relationship with Max came out in the 90s, I could only imagine what that meant to other kids who were going through the same thing. So for that, and Elliot probably feels differently, I'm like 90% sure, but I'm gonna have to say Goofy. Sorry.
No, it's all good. That's some look, man. You made a strong case for Goofy. I'm not gonna lie. I told you before the show, we've had panelists that have swayed people's votes before, and if anyone's gonna sway to Goofy, that might have done it. Elliot, we're gonna go to you. 2 minutes on the clock. Marlin versus Goofy. Who do you got?
Okay, so I'm definitely going against the chat here and slightly against Dempsey here. It's not that I don't like Goofy. I just find him in this film just so irritating. Oh my gosh, he freaking like. So I actually hadn't seen Goofy movie before we were doing this, and so I watched it the other day for the first time, and I reckon that's probably spoiled Goofy for me. I think if I'd watched him as a kid, I might have enjoyed his hijinks. It's kind of a la Jar Jar Binks, you know. He kind of messes everything up, but doesn't at the same time. And I think watching that as an adult, it just didn't click with me. And I can see everything that he's doing is coming from a place of love, but I was just like, can you just stop, sit down, and just chill out for a second, because you're doing my nut at the moment. But then you bring it to Marlin, and I'm like, I love what Dempsey said about how Marlin swam the friggin' ocean just to save Nemo, which I think was absolutely beautiful. But then at the same time, I'm kind of thinking, but if Marlin had sat down and had some therapy after the death of his wife, you know, things might have not turned out how they did in Finding Nemo. We might have been all right there. Now, in fairness, we wouldn't have had a film, so I'll take that into account. But I can understand more where Marlin comes from than I do Goofy, because Marlin went through this traumatic experience that we, the audience, get to witness as well. I can understand why he safeguards Nemo in the way that he does. And so I'm kind of with Marlin more in this round than I am Goofy.
Man, this is a tough one. I literally agree with both of you. You guys both made such good points. This is tough.
I was not expecting you to put these two together, man.
Look, here's the thing. I didn't put these two together, and we'll find out later why, because people actually get to vote on the seating. So this was not my doing. This was all the chat. They had them seated at 4 and 5. I washed my hands of this. But let's see. Okay, I said 4 and 5 is usually the toughest in the first round. So let's see where everyone is going. If you want to vote for Marlin, do exclamation vote 4 in the chat. If you want to vote for Goofy, exclamation vote 5. Okay, my vote. Oh, okay. Look, it's really comes down to the journey of saving your son versus the journey of leading your son to be a man, right? Because that's basically what Goofy's doing. He's leading him from becoming an adolescent to dating and having responsibility and being mature. So what's the more important journey? You know, I think I'm gonna go Goofy, only because, I mean, didn't Marlin kind of, like, I don't know, drop the ball and lose his son? Like, pretty much. I mean, look, I know
totally
I know that he, like, swam off when he shouldn't have, but
I mean, look, Goofy certainly holds it more together in like that. You know what I mean? Like, at least he's kind of with his son the whole journey, whereas Marlin does lose Nemo straight away.
Yeah, and you know what? I got to be honest. And since Marlin's losing, let me say this: if it wasn't for Dory, I don't think Marlin would have even found Nemo. Right? Like, let's be real. He made the wrong decision the entire time, almost, like, trying to even find his son. If it wasn't for Dory, maybe you know, Nemo would have been totally gone. Who knows? He would have been in that fish tank forever, I think. Oh God, that was a hard one.
I'm shocked.
That was difficult, but
look, I'm shocked too. I did not know that the people had this much love for Goofy. I mean, this is almost as big as it's a bigger win than Mufasa had. Like, I am also completely shocked.
I'm scared. Like I voted for Goofy, and I'm like I thought I was the only one who felt that way, but it's comforting and frightening at the same time.
Right? Yeah. All right, let's go back to the bracket. Goofy with 76% of the vote. Moving on to the second round. That should be a good matchup against Mufasa. All right, let's go to the next one. The number 3 seed, Jefferson Davis, going up against the number 6 seed of Gru. All right, Elliot, we're going to start with you. 2 minutes on the clock. How do you feel about this matchup?
Yeah, well, I think for me, Jefferson is an amazing dad. In fact, I asked if he could be put on this list, so it shows already what I think of him. I think what's really nice about Jefferson is that he always, throughout the whole film, he sees the spark within Miles, no matter what that is. He doesn't know that means Spider-Man. He doesn't know that means Miles is going to get these powers. It's pre that. He just wants Miles to make something of himself, just going to school and getting good grades. And so when Jefferson comes in with that pep talk towards the end of the film, and it pushes Miles into, finally accepting what he has to do to become Spider-Man. And I think it kind of plays so strongly into what that film is trying to do, that this whole film is an origin story. It's not just the first 20 minutes of the film. And Jefferson ends up being that catalyst. I saw something really nice earlier today that sort of said that, with Peter Parker, what drove him was the death of his uncle. And whereas Miles has the death of his uncle, it's more than that push from his dad that sends him over and speaking, yeah, okay, I'm ready for this now. I can do this. It's the love behind him rather than the grief. And I think that speaks volumes of Jefferson's parenting.
All right. Dempsey, we'll go to you. Jefferson Davis, Gru, how do you feel about this? 2 minutes on the clock.
All right. Great points about Jefferson. Rather than talk down Jefferson, I'm just going to talk up my choice, which is Gru. Gru, and I think I just saw somebody put this in the chat. This is what I have in my notes. He's the reluctant father. His daughters literally change him for the better. He becomes, or he realizes that he doesn't have to always necessarily be the bad guy, unless, you're being a parent, because, that's something that actually has to happen. But he realizes that once these 3 girls pop into his life, he realizes that not everything has to be so grim. And they literally add the unicorns and rainbows to his life, and they brighten things up. That's what I love about Gru. He has all these infinite amount of minions behind him, but none of them bring him nearly as much joy as these 3 little girls that walk into his life. I think the Despicable Me movies, well, one can argue that they progressively get worse. I think the first one, what it does really right is that it really captures the essence of being a father for the first time, how you're not so sure if you can do it. But it takes for you to really see the children as the miracle that they are, for you to actually realize that you are somebody's hero. So that's why I choose Gru.
All right, man. This is, again, man, this is even a tough one, even though it's a 3-6 matchup. I think a lot of disagreement in the chat too on this, so it's going to be very interesting to see who goes. So let's start the poll. If you want to vote Jefferson Davis, do exclamation vote 3. If you want to vote Gru, exclamation vote 6. Whoa there. Yeah, you know what? For me, I think this one's tough for me. I think what gives me the edge of Gru over Jefferson is the fact that he has the bigger arc in his movie, especially because in the first one, especially, it's really even though it's about being despicable, but he changes from being despicable because of being a dad. Like, the whole movie is literally about being a dad and how that changes your life. And I really think that he exemplifies like the full arc change. And so I just, for the slightest edge, I think I'm gonna go Gru. And I know that I'm probably gonna screw up the voting on this now, because we now have a tie. So we're gonna see.
Put it in the middle.
I don't know. So I think we got a couple more people who still have to vote. So we'll see. I saw Captain Pennsylvania just voted, and man, he just pushed Jefferson Davis over the edge. Unless somebody jumps in, this is the closest one we've had so far. And look, there's 4 seconds left. 3, 2. I think we are gonna call it. 53% of the vote. That was super close.
Wow.
I gotta say, because it was so close, I'm very fearful if no matter which one was going to go forward. I'm fearful that they may not go longer, but I guess we'll see, man. This was even closer than the last one, and I really expected the last one to be close. But Jefferson Davis,
Yeah. Do you know, I thought Gru was still going to sneak that because also we've had more time with him in terms of when the films have come out, and the fact that Despicable Me has had 3 films as well, which helps.
Right.
But I find that quite a surprise in the end, even though I was rooting for Jefferson.
Yeah. So just by a toe, Jefferson Davis crosses that finish line. Let's go to the 4th matchup of the first round. We got the number 2 seed, Mr. Incredible, going up against the number 7 seed of Dracula. Dempsey, we're going to start with you on this one. 2 minutes on the clock. How do you feel about Mr. Incredible and Dracula?
So, this is probably going to be really controversial, but I think that Dracula is a better dad than Mr. Incredible.
Whoa.
I only say that because Mr. Incredible, I feel I've seen both of the Incredible films multiple times. With my son, he loves those movies, and I feel Mr. Incredible's not that really involved with the kids. The only genuine interaction that we have with him is in the second movie, and he's awful. He falls asleep with them. He lets Jack off to do his thing. If you want to say Marlin was pretty bad for losing his son, I think that Mr. Incredible's pretty damn close too. Dracula, the only thing that I have, and I said this earlier before, he's just really strict. He shielded his daughter from the outside world, but for good reason, because she's a monster and the whole world hates monsters. They have this perception of them. So he totally had a good reason to do that. Eventually he ends up warming up to the idea and, compromising with her and letting her be a part of the other world, be a part of the outside world, and even joining that outside world with her. So again, it's the same thing with Gru, where, she kind of causes this change within him. And I'm not so sure that even in the 2 Incredible films that we see that change. Even at the end of The Incredibles 2, he's like, okay, don't worry, Jack has these powers. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you. So it's just like, wait, what? So total bad parenting in my opinion. So that's why my decision has to be Dracula.
Wow. Okay. Was not expecting that, but some extremely valid points. Elliot, we're going to go with you. 2 minutes on the clock. How do you feel about this matchup?
So I'm going to start with Dracula. And again, just like with a Goofy movie, I had to watch this film in time for this debate, as I hadn't seen it before. And I like what Dempsey was saying, how Dracula, he sort of, learns to become a great dad. And how he finally sort of, sees that monsters can be accepted by humans and he accepted humans and so on and so forth. But I kind of have to think as to why that happened. And I think for me, he ends up having a closer relationship with Jonathan in the film, the human, than he does his own daughter. And so I kind of feel that whereas he might be a good dad to Jonathan, he isn't, in the end, for me, he's not a great dad to his own daughter. And in the end, he actually starts to affect his friends as much as he does his daughter as well. And so for me, that kind of just loses it for Dracula in this round. Whereas with Mr. Incredible, what I really love in the first film is that he goes out trying to rekindle the power he had when he was a superhero. But he's off his edge now, he's fallen into normal life and into family life. And so it's when he then joins with his family that he becomes stronger. And it's part of that family unit. And so I think that growth for Mr. Incredible to learn that, the family unit is where the strength now lies, is what ends up making him a better dad. And then when we go into The Incredibles 2, and I think that's what kind of drives him to want to be a good dad for the kids, even though he does kind of fail in a way at the start. But I think without, that want to allow the family unit strength to win over everything else, he's not going to be a good dad. So I think for that reason, Mr. Incredible takes the win here for me.
I gotta say, I was, this is tough, man, because I'll be honest, I was leaning heavy on Mr. Incredible for all the reasons that Elliot was saying, but if I'm being honest, Dempsey, you kind of made some good points there. I'm not gonna lie, but let's see if you convinced other people. The voting is now open. If you want to vote for Mr. Incredible, exclamation vote 2 in the chat. If you want to vote for Dracula, exclamation vote 7. Like I said, man, I was ready to do vote 2. I really was, but you make some excellent points that Mr. Incredible really was. I mean, like, I'm not gonna say he's a terrible dad, but he especially in the second one, he wasn't as, now that I'm thinking about it, like, he wasn't that good with Jack. Like, he made sure that Jack was alive, but like barely. Like at one point he literally pawned him off to Edna, and like so much so that they made a short film about it. Like, and he was just like, "Here, you deal with this kid." So I'm like, like, although I've been there, I if you're a dad, we've been there. So maybe I should vote for him just for the camaraderie that I feel for that. Oh man.
I think this is the advantage that you guys have over me, is that you're both dads, whereas I'm here like trying to like wade through not being a dad, and I'm like, I know what a good dad is. Surely I do. I know this. Yeah.
Steven in the chat said he's a real dad. It's very true. Like being a dad isn't necessarily all sunshine all the time, for sure. But and so I did it. I went Mr. Incredible. I may be swayed later on, for sure, but for at least this round, that's what I'm going to go with. So with 67% of the vote, we have Mr. Incredible, the number 2 seed, will be moving on. Let's take a look at the bracket. So there you go. There's your second round matchups. The number 1 seed Mufasa going up against the number 5 seed Goofy, and then number 3 seed Jefferson Davis going up against the number 2 seed Mr. Incredible. Before we get into that, though, I just want to remind everybody here, we do have a morning show on the channel every weekday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, called Morning Movie Brews. We just sort of, everyone in the chat, we just get together. We talk about the top news story. I let you guys vote to decide which topics you want to talk about. So if you're up early, or, in Elliot's case, probably afternoon-ish time, stop on by. It's a lot. It's definitely a lot of fun. So definitely come do that. All right, let's get into it.
Oh, it's great. It's my lunchtime show. It's fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. The rest of us, we got our coffee going. Ellie's got his sandwich going. So there you go. All right, yeah. Let's do this. The number 1 seed Mufasa going up against the number 5 seed of Goofy. All right. Mufasa, pretty good win last time. Goofy crushed it in the first round. Elliot, we're gonna start with you. 2 minutes on the clock. How do you feel about this matchup?
Okay. So I didn't speak about Mufasa yet, and seeing how the first vote for Goofy went, I think I need to start bringing the stops out on Mufasa. So Mufasa, he will forever be my favorite animated dad. And when I saw this matchup, it was only ever going to be Mufasa for me. I think what I love about Mufasa is that he sets boundaries for Simba. He sort of says, Simba, you need to learn about how to be king. You need to explore the kingdom, so on and so forth. And so you can do that. You have your free roam. But at the same time, you gotta stop at this point. You gotta learn that actually there are some things as a kid you're not ready for yet. And so go out, explore, learn what you need to learn, but don't go too far. And when we get to that point, I will teach you then. And apart from that, he's also wise. Think of the things that he explains to Simba about respecting other animals. These are animals that they go out day in, day out, lions, and kill and eat. And he's like, no, we gotta respect these animals as well, because they're part of this system on these pride lands that we are part of. And if we don't treat them right, then it won't treat us right. And we see that later on when Scar takes over as king. He doesn't treat everything right, and the herds move on. They don't have any food. And then more than that, I think, Mufasa then also, he has the strength to go with it as well. He's got the wisdom to give the smarts, but then he's got the brute to be able to protect Simba, which he does brilliantly on the 2 occasions he has to, against the hyenas and then later on in the stampede as well. So yeah, he's got the guile and he's got the brawn, and I think that makes him a perfect dad for Simba.
Yeah, man. That's poetry right there. All right. It's going to be tough. I mean, I don't know where you're going. I don't know where you're going, Dempsey, but I'll put 2 minutes on the clock for you. Do you agree? Is Mufasa the greatest, or does Goofy have a shot here?
So I'm writing down, even like just trying to think of things, like you can't really think, like I said this earlier, you cannot think of anything bad against Mufasa without like feeling a little part of yourself dying on the inside. So like I wrote down, I was like, but he couldn't protect his son from Scar. And I'm just like, you know what? That's not his fault. Scar was just a jerk, okay? And it's just like, oh man, I love Goofy. Goofy's my favorite. The one thing that I would argue that he has on Mufasa is the fact that he was there to navigate his son growing up. But I think you touched on it beautifully, that even in the little bit amount of time that Mufasa and Simba had together, he taught him more than enough to help him understand how the world was, how to be a great leader, understanding the circle of life, why, boundaries, exactly how you said it, why, everybody, even though they live in their own different corner, they all come together to make the world round. So I hate myself for this, but maybe if it was up against somebody else, I could have fought better for Goofy, but I'm going to have to give it to Mufasa.
All right. Let's okay, before I start the poll, I gotta let me get what I have to say out, because I have a huge feeling, because I've been reading the chat this whole time, I think Mufasa is about to get upset. So in case it doesn't, let me just say this, okay? Yeah, Mufasa is one of the greatest characters ever. I think he was a really good dad, okay? And I think he deserves to win this. So many life lessons, like you were saying, and not only when his son gets in trouble, he doesn't like freak out. He uses that as an opportunity to teach and give explain how the world works to a young kid. And he understands that a young cub doesn't know everything, so he tries to teach instead of yell. And that's something I think we should all sort of glob on as people are or going to be parents down the road. And not to mention, don't forget, Mufasa came back from the dead in like astral spirit form. Like Goofy's never done that. So all right, here we go. Let's put this up here. If you want to vote for Mufasa, do exclamation vote 1. If you would like to vote for Goofy, do exclamation vote 5. I'm very nervous about this. I think that Goofy is actually going to win. I am voting for Mufasa. I put my vote in. Look, Mufasa's got the early lead, I think. But yeah, look at this. Boom. Goofy right now tied it up. It's going back and forth. I see a lot more 5s in there. Aggressively says Goofy played Jacob Marley in A Christmas Tale. Dude came back from the dead. All right, that's fine. That's true aggressively, but that doesn't count. Okay, he wasn't a dad. Well, I guess he might have been, but I don't know if Jacob Marley had kids. Maybe he did. I don't know. I don't think so though. Man, this is a tight race. This is tight. Oh man. Okay, we got 30 seconds. All right, we got another vote in now for Goofy. We got 2 votes for Goofy. Oh, okay. I think Goofy is a third for, and a 4th coming in. All these votes coming in late for Goofy, making a 4th quarter comeback, and Cap in with a Goofy vote. Okay, man, the number 1 seed is about to get upset by Goofy. Can you believe it? Goofy, the people.
I'm not upset. But I honestly thought in this matchup at Mufasa.
A late surge by Mufasa, but no.
Not enough. 2 late votes for Mufasa, but not enough.
Okay, so man, with 59% of the vote, Goofy, the number 5 seed, moving on. Goofy was a late addition to this as it was. I didn't think like people would even really think too much about Goofy, but here we go. I guess more people have seen this movie than we give it credit for. Oh man, Mufasa going down, like a herd of antelopes running him over. So Goofy moving on with Oh, wait, I should flip that because that's totally wrong. All right, hold on. I'll do that for next round. All right, 41-59 for Goofy. Okay. Now let's go to the next matchup. Look, if Goofy's gonna win, I have no idea how this one's gonna go. Number 3 seed Jefferson Davis going up against the number 2 seed of Mr. Incredible. All right, Dempsey, your turn to start. 2 minutes on the clock. How do you feel about this matchup?
Oh man, well, you know how I feel about Mr. Incredible already. I did like your points though, Elliot, that you said that because when I was thinking about the whole family thing, I thought about it more through his relationship with Jack solely, because that's like the big one that's really like the focus of part 2. But you're right that when he eventually does come together, or he learns how to work as a team and sees his kids as partners more than, his kids, that it does really help empower the family unit as a whole. But I also think that you made a better point talking about how Jefferson, his involvement in his relationship, just how it ebbs and flows throughout into the Spider-Verse, where he, at first he's ashamed of his dad. He wants nothing to do with his dad. He loves his uncle. His uncle is his idol. And then he comes to realize that, his hero, his own hero, was literally under his nose the whole entire time. And I think that is a better, more accurate depiction of fatherhood. When kids are born, they absolutely adore their parents because they're there for them 100%. But when they become teenagers, they're their worst enemies. And then once again, by the time they're adults, they appreciate them for who they truly are. That's how it was with my parents. Pretty sure that's how it is with everybody and their parents. So for that reason, I'm going to say I think Jefferson is a much better choice, just because I really like that depiction of fatherhood a lot more than Mr. Incredibles in the 2 films that we got. All right.
Yeah. All right. Elliot, 2 minutes on the clock for you. How do you feel about these 2 dads?
Yeah, I think in this matchup, I equally lean to Jefferson here, and I think Dempsey, you've hit it nail on the head there. That throughout the whole of the Spider-Verse film, just about everything Jefferson does is in service of Miles. It's in service of his son, wanting his son to succeed in whatever it is he does. Trying to steer him off the path that his uncle went down and keep him, on the straight and narrow. And I really love that. And he does it in a way. At times it maybe feels a bit smothery, but at the same time it doesn't, because he does allow his son to go off to a boarding school where he's away for a whole week, and he's not there to literally every time Miles gets back from school to be like, yo, so how was your day? It was nice that even though Jefferson wanted to help Miles, he still tried to give Miles that space as well. And then I think with Mr. Incredible, he's just too stuck on going on the journey of trying to say goodbye to the heydays of his superhero work and adjust to that family life. And that happens again, across both the films, because if we don't forget, the second film does take place straight after the first film. So in a way, that arc is still, that started in the first film, is still happening in the second film. And he's still learning to be selfless, whereas I think Jefferson is selfless from the beginning. And for me, as far as I understand parentship, I think to be selfless to your child can be more important. Obviously, you need to have times where you are selfish, I should say. But I think for the story of the films, Jefferson being selfless is a better dad model than Mr. Incredible.
All right, let's see what the people have to say. Let's start up this poll. If you want to vote for Jefferson Davis, do exclamation vote 3. If you want to vote for Mr. Incredible, exclamation vote 2. I think I'm leaning Jefferson as well on this one. This one's tough for me because I really do think Mr. Incredible is a really good dad, but I'm thinking about it and I'm like, he's a good dad, and an overall service to the family, but I feel like a lot of his struggles is more being a good husband versus being a good dad. I think there's a lot more of that in his story than overcoming things with his children. So for that reason, I think I'm gonna have to lean Jefferson on this one. And I do enjoy the fact that that he's just trying to connect with his teenage son. And I don't personally know what that's like, but the way one of my kids is starting to act, I'm fearful of that teenage age. So I feel like I'm gonna get to that point at some time. So I can understand the struggle for sure. So that's gonna be my vote. I think I'm surprising myself even on this one, but thinking about it more, I think I'm gonna go Jefferson on this one. And I gotta say, I think most people here are agreeing with the three of us, because with a commanding 73% of the vote, it looks like Jefferson Davis is gonna pull away with this one. Man, I guess I'm not too surprised, I would say. So let's go ahead. Let's add Jefferson Davis. Poll is done. Jefferson Davis. Moving on. All right, let's go back to the bracket now that we're all set. Okay, there you go. So here is your finals. You have the number what is Goofy? 5. The number 5 seed Goofy going up against the number 3 Jefferson Davis. Real quick though, before we get to our final matchup, I just want to tell you guys, so how the seating works now, you can't yell at me anymore. I've been doing this for a couple weeks now. I know Dempsey was yelling at me about the seating, but can't yell at me. You can only yell at yourselves, because what we do now is we allow you to vote before the show and decide on what you think the seating should be, and we take that in consideration when we do the seating. So here's all you got to do. Go to rank.fanjexture.com. Right there. Head over to rank.fanjexture.com. You can right now, tonight is the last night you can vote for next week's show. Next week's show, we are doing Ron Howard films, and there's 8 incredible films on there. So if you want to get involved, one more time, go to rank.fanjexture.com. Go ahead, fill out the form, get your seatings in for next week's Ron Howard films. That's going to be a great show as well. All right, let's get to it. It's time for the finals. 2 maybe unlucky, or not unlucky, but unforeseen victors making it all the way. Goofy and Jefferson, the 5 seed and the 3 seed making it all the way through. Elliot, we are going to start with you on this one. 2 minutes on the clock. How do you feel? Well, I think I know which way you're going. You've been kind of trashing on Goofy all night, calling him the Jar Jar, the Jar Jar Binks of the tournament. So the floor is yours for 2 minutes to gush more on Jefferson.
I still stand by calling Goofy the Jar Jar Binks of the Disney original rostra. That you know what? I'm kind of surprised Goofy made it this far, but then also not at the same time, because I know that Goofy is a beloved character, and the chat has completely shown that tonight. So, do you know what? Getting to this point, I want Jefferson to win. Jefferson is my guy in this final matchup, but I don't think I'll be disappointed if Goofy wins, seeing the love and support that he does have. So, yeah, I mean, it's not a difficult decision for me. It is Jefferson all the way. As you know, I mean, both these dads are great because, as I said with Jefferson in the last round, they both do everything in service to their son. You know, it's about being a dad. It's about teaching their son. It's about believing in their son, and it's about connecting with their son as well. So I think both of these two really behold that in such an incredible manner. So my vote goes for Jefferson. I really look forward to what he does next in Spider-Verse 2, even though I think someone put in the chat that it's likely he'll probably bite the bullet in the next film, and it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me in the way these films like to go, because we have to give Miles some form of motivation. So, it's a Jefferson Davis win for me.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but I think we all know it's probably gonna happen. All right, Dempsey, 2 minutes on the clock.
Okay. So I already defended Jefferson once. It's not gonna happen again because, like I said, my favorite dad on this list made it this far. All right, Goofy just wants to bond with his kid. Okay, that's all he wants. He wants nothing more. And okay, what other dad on this list performed at a Powerline concert? Okay, no. So I really love the fact, and it's kind of it's silly, but it is kind of it speaks volumes to just like how he steps in the role of Max's idol and becomes like kind of his idol, and it takes for Max to see that to realize, you know what, the same thing as before, that, you know, his hero has been lying in front of his nose the whole time. But a lot of people always focus on a Goofy movie, but there was actually a sequel called An Extremely Goofy Movie, where Goofy loves his son so much that he follows him to college. Okay, and even there, he safeguards him and he tries to shield him from all the evil that he couldn't teach him about before. Max falls in with this bad group of friends. And while it is, you know, some people say it's a so-so sequel, and I think it went straight to video, but that's irrelevant, okay, because I think that the bottom line, and what I love that the movie shows, is that fatherhood never really ends. So even after high school, even after Max is technically considered an adult, that Goofy is still there for him to still show him how to be a man, because you know what? The role of father never does really end. And that is why I choose Goofy.
Okay, man, that's true. Both sides
tugging on the heartstrings.
You really are, man. Both sides. Well, you know, we got great arguments for both of these characters. All right, this is it. This is it, ladies and gentlemen. Now is the time for you to decide who is going to win the whole show. Is it going to be Goofy? If it is, do exclamation vote 5 in the chat. If Jefferson Davis is your winner, do exclamation vote 3 in the chat. Man, okay. I gotta be honest. I think I'm feeling the love for the Goof. I don't know why. You're making some good arguments. I think. Look. He's one of the only ones that sings, right? He's a singing dad, so you gotta give him points for that. And I gotta say, Dempsey, I gotta give you a little bit of points. I know I can't actually give you points, but if I could give you imaginary points for actually sitting through the Goofy sequel, and getting like some positive stuff out of that, then yeah, I gotta give you some imaginary points on that one.
Goofy, man.
But look, the Goofy movie is a big favorite in my house, so I've seen this movie a ton of times, and I'll be honest, this is one of my wife's favorite movies, so I literally cannot go against Goofy, or I'm probably sleeping on the couch tonight. So for that reason, and not any scientific reason, the fact that I don't want to sleep on the couch, I am voting for a Goofy movie. No, but I probably would have voted Goofy anyway. It's look, he's a very fun, lighthearted character. I do think he's got one of the greatest growths, because not only does he learn how to be a better dad, but he teaches his son how to be a better person as well. So I'm gonna go Goofy for real though, and it looks like, you know, everyone is kind of in agreement tonight. Goofy, the 5 seed. That who would have thought that Goofy was going to make it all the way? 63% of the vote. Go back to the bracket. There you go. Goofy is your number 1 animated film dad. Let's see how he got there. Goofy crushed Marlin in the first round. Got a pretty convincing win over the number 1 seed Mufasa, and of course a commanding win over Jefferson Davis. Gentlemen, Goofy. Elliot, I'll start with you. I know you said you'd be happy either way. How do you feel about this turnout here?
Do you know, I still don't know that it really happened. It's I must be in an early morning haze, because I'm not sure quite what's happened this evening. But no, I had a little nap. I don't think it was quite long enough.
You're sleepwalking. You're sleepwalking right now.
But yeah. No, do you know what? Fair play to Goofy. Yeah, and I think what you guys said was right. You know, he in the end, it's not just about him. You know, him teaching his son and his son accepting as a dad, but he does grow as a dad as well. And I think that's what probably stands him out against some of the other dads in this lineup, you know? Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. Dempsey, you gotta be real. And for you, it was either Marlin or Goofy. So you got one of your 2 choices.
But I honestly, even going into this, I was like, okay, these are my favorites, but it's going to be hard to knock out Mufasa,
Mm.
and it happened.
Yeah.
And I think it goes to show as a testament to the power of this community and the power of this show that literally anything can happen. And that's why I love it, man.
I mean, look, I'm not saying number ones don't sometimes win, but more often than not, number ones, even number twos, don't necessarily always win in this. It's so interesting the way people vote. I love it. It's so much fun for sure. Guys, thank you again so much. I love when you guys come on. You guys always bring it. You guys always have the knowledge and the fun and the laughs. It's great. I love having you guys on. Elliot, please tell people about your channel and what you do.
Sure. So my channel is Hakuna MaChatter, which probably sees why I love Mufasa. But now I talk positively about diversity in film and TV. And I've had a few videos up lately which are helping people to learn a bit more with the Black Lives Matter movement as well. So really good if you're in the mood to learning some more things about the Black experience.
Great. And Dempsey,
through film and TV.
Oh yeah. Right, obviously. Dempsey, how about you? Tell everybody about what you're doing on your channel.
Well, my channel is called Pillot Productions. It's after my last name, which is just Pillot, spelled with an extra L, Productions. And there I just do movie reviews. Sometimes I do TV series reviews. I'm trying to diversify it a little, especially now that we really don't have movies. And after today's news, it doesn't even look like they're going to be any movies or new movies anyway in July. But also, yeah, just doing what I love. I love talking about movies, and now I finally have a platform to do it. And even being a part of collaborations like this, I gotta say thank you so much to Adam for letting me be a part of this again, because it is such a wonderful experience. Because I just love movies. I cannot emphasize it enough. But yeah.
The thanks is all for you guys. So one more time, thank you both for coming on. Everyone in the chat, if you aren't already, the links are in the description below. Definitely go give these guys a follow on both social media and on YouTube, and go check out their stuff. They do great stuff. So thank you guys both definitely once more.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys, that's it. Goofy won. I can't believe Goofy won, but he did win. Thanks to you. So thank you all for coming and hanging out and voting and getting your voice heard. Make sure you come back next week. We're doing Ron Howard films. That's going to be a great show. So be here next Wednesday. Thanks a lot.